All right, and we are rolling. So, welcome to Tools for Blended Learning in the Elementary Classroom. Thank you for attending our webinar. This webinar is hosted by WHRO Public Media. And a little bit about WHRO, in case you're not familiar. We are based in Norfolk and we are owned by 21 owner school divisions. And our school divisions request professional development from us. Recently, we had a request for professional development about blended learning. So last week, I actually see a lot of familiar names here. A lot of you attended last week's session where we had Katie Lopez and Kimberly Wisniewski, and they talked about how they use blended learning in their elementary classrooms. And they mentioned a couple of resources that they use. And that's what tonight's webinar is going to be about. I'm going to highlight some of the resources that they mentioned and briefly show you how to use those tools in your own blended learning environment. My name is Janie Everett. I am the Educational Technology Manager at WHRO Public Media. And my email address is listed there too, janie.everett@whro.org. Feel free to contact me at any time with questions about last week's webinar, the webinar that we're hosting tonight, or if you have any professional development needs or wants in the future, go ahead and get a hold of me. I was an elementary school teacher. I taught first grade, second grade, and fifth grade. I was also a technology specialist at Virginia Beach City Public Schools. And now I'm at WHRO. So I have a lot of experience with elementary classrooms as well as technology. So if you have a topic in mind that you would like some PD on, go ahead and contact me and let me know, and we can get that set up for you. Okay, so I'll be the only person presenting in this webinar tonight, and I'm going to go through all of my slides first. I'm going to try to leave some time at the end of this session for questions. So just like in our other webinars, if you think of questions along the way, you can go ahead and type those into the Q&A. I do have a couple of other WHRO employees here with me. They might try to answer some of your questions, or they might leave them for me. And if we have a little bit of time at the end, I'll go ahead and answer as many of those questions as I can, or I'll try to get to you after the webinar if possible. I will send everyone an email after this presentation, probably by the end of this week. It will include a certificate for attending this session for 1 hour tonight. It will also include a survey so that you can let us know how we did. And I'll also send you the link to my presentation so you can have that. If you attended last week's webinar, you should have already received your certificate and a survey. I will be sending out the links to those presentations from Katie and Kimberly soon. Just having an issue with one of the links for one of the presentations. So I just want to make sure that that's working well before I send it out to everyone. But I did not forget, that will be coming soon, and I'll send you my presentation as well. And then, of course, last week's webinar, as well as the one that I'm presenting tonight, will both be available soon at whro.org/webinars. You'll be able to find the recordings there. And like I mentioned, we'll be sending out a survey to you. We would love to get some of your feedback in that survey. It's only about 2 questions, and that would be very much appreciated. Okay, so first I just want to recap what Katie and Kimberly said last week about blended learning in general. They mentioned that it's important to post your schedule, and we understand that our schedules change sometimes as teachers, especially for those of us who are doing distance learning at the moment with our students. Things can change quite a bit depending on, technology issues and meetings and, just changes in general, but try to be as consistent as you can with your schedule. It's definitely important to plan out your entire week. Teachers plan to begin with, but now more than ever, it's really important. Plan on your own for what you know is best for your students. Plan with other teachers on your team who can help you out and give you ideas as well. and make sure you have a plan for what you're going to do if there is some sort of technology misfunction, because that happens all the time. Make sure that you have clear expectations set for your students and let them know of those expectations in the classroom or in the digital classroom. Be available for your students. Make sure you're setting some office hours aside for your students and make sure that they know how to reach you digitally. Expect things to go wrong. Unfortunately, things go wrong all the time when we're using technology. And we saw that even in last week's webinar, we had some technical difficulties, but just keep pushing through. Don't get discouraged. Expect that that will happen. The students are very resilient and they're going to work through those problems with you. And then, of course, the last option is choose some helpful resources. And that's what this webinar tonight is for. So that being said, we will go ahead and move on so we can get started on some of those resources. Okay, so if you hear me mention the word, or letters, I should say, LMS tonight, I'm referring to Learning Management System. And I always have a couple people who ask, what's LMS? Which is why I like to bring it up at the beginning of my presentation. So a Learning Management System is just one location that you as a teacher can put all of your work and your resources for students. On the screen, I have the logos for some of the more popular ones, like Google Classroom, Schoology, Canvas, Moodle, Desire to Learn, Microsoft Teams, and Blackboard. There are definitely more of them, but these are some of the more popular ones that we see. So all of the tools that we're using tonight are going to be not only free, they have free versions, but they all work well with these learning management systems as well. Some of them have some really complex integrations with these LMSs, and some of them are as simple as just grabbing a link from that digital tool and posting it in your learning management system for your students. So if you hear LMS, this is what I'm referring to. And here are the tools that we're going to go over tonight. As you can see, there are quite a few of them. So just know that this is going to be a very brief description of each of these tools tonight. It's not going to be a very in-depth training of each one. I'm going to cover each one kind of briefly, but feel free to reach out to me afterwards with questions about these. And you'll see in the presentation that I'm also going to give you some additional resources in this slide deck that you can take a lot of tutorial videos and links to the support sites for each of these tools and so on. So we're going to talk about ClassDojo, Screencastify, Pear Deck, Kami, eMedia VA, and we're also going to give an honorable mention to GoGuardian at the end, although I'm not going to spend too much time on GoGuardian, but we'll talk about that one later. Okay, so the first tool we're going to talk about is ClassDojo. And ClassDojo is an app that you can have on a tablet or a phone. It's also a website. You can go to classdojo.com. It's for teachers as well as students and parents as well. You can bring every family into your classroom. Originally, ClassDojo, way back, started as just sort of a behavior management system as a way to get rid of those clip up and clip down sticks we have on our classroom walls where a student starts in the middle, and then if they have good behavior they get to move their stick up to green, and sometimes move it down to yellow or red if they're not behaving well. So that's how ClassDojo started. It was just a digital way to do that and to give students points for their good behavior, and you could tally up all these points and then reward them. But since then, ClassDojo has turned into quite a bit more. It's now a really great communication tool to talk with parents, and it's a great place for students to share their work as well. I know a lot of teachers who don't have a set learning management system at their school actually use ClassDojo as kind of a makeshift learning management system. So we're going to go ahead and jump into that, and I'll show you the different features of ClassDojo. Okay. So when you go to ClassDojo and you log in as a teacher, it's totally free, of course. You can create classrooms. You can make as many classrooms as you need to, depending on how many classes you teach. And all of your classes will show up right here. These two over here on the right are old classes, so they need to be archived by me. But here are the two classes, they're sample classes, but here are the two classes that I'm currently teaching, demo class and demo math class. It's very easy to add students and parents to these classrooms, which is on our next slide. So when you click on one of your classes, I clicked on the one titled Demo Class, you will see all of these students pop up. You have to add the students yourself, which is very easy. This button over here says Add Students. You click that. You add some of their basic information, nothing too personal. And then it gives you a really nice, easy link that you can email out to parents or send them the link in Remind or however you're talking to your parents already. And they just join the class by clicking on your link, or sometimes they can enter a code. It's very, very simple. So once all of your students have been added to your class, they show up here. Each of them gets their own little monster, and the younger students love it. And it's a really easy way for them to recognize their name as well, especially if they're really young and not reading well yet. You can always post your classroom up on the board so that they can see their monster and how many points they have. Or students could log into a Class Dojo app on their own too and see how many points they have. So like I mentioned, Class Dojo was originally created to award your students and give them points for their good behavior. So that's what this classroom tab is for. You can see classroom here is highlighted in blue, and we're looking at our classroom right now. All of our students are listed here. If we go ahead and click on one of our students' names, then this box pops up and I have all of these options for points I can give them for having good behavior. Um, I could give them a point for helping others, being on task, participating. And if you edit these skills, you can actually create some of your own. So if you wanted to make a positive skill that says raised hand, because you're trying to train your classroom students how to raise their hands instead of calling out, then you could create one of these that says raised hand. And if your student raises their hand, you can go ahead really quick and give them a point. And it's really easy. I love that this is also an app and not just a website, because you can download the app on your phone or your tablet and just keep it with you and open as you walk around your classroom and just give students points as you see them doing really great things. And the students very quickly recognize the sound that this app makes for giving them a positive point. And a lot of times when they hear that sound, they all start to kind of get in line and get it together and behaving, because the rest of them want points too, especially if you're taking those points at the end of the week and rewarding them in some way. On the adverse, you can see aside from positive, there is a tab that says needs work, and all of those skills are, um, the things that students need work on. So in addition to giving students points, you can also take them away if need be. Keep in mind that when parents join your classroom in Class Dojo, they can see how many points their student has also. So if Beyonce has 4 points on Monday, but on Wednesday Beyonce only has 1 point, just be prepared for that parent to possibly see that and ask you what happened. And I think that's a great thing that parents can see the points in here and they can keep track of their students' behavior in the classroom. But just know that they can see this and they might ask you about, why they were receiving or getting points taken away. Okay. So aside from the classroom tab where you can add or take away points for your students, which by the way, you can also do whole class. If your whole class is behaving, you can add or take away a point from the whole class at once. The next tab over at the top says portfolios. And portfolios are kind of exactly what they sound like. It's a place where students can post pictures and also text of things that they're doing in the classroom. So one of our students here, Justin Timberlake, posted um, a picture of himself holding up his work and also added some text to it too. We'd be able to see some text if we opened up. So he was explaining what the work is in this picture that he's standing in. So all he had to do was go into Class Dojo, either the app or the website, and click Add Post, and then type whatever it was that they wanted to say. And then here is where they can add a photo or a file. So they can add a picture of their work, or if they were working on a document on their laptop, they could add that document right here. And then their parent that is connected to them can see whatever they post in their portfolio, and the teacher can see that as well. So a student can take pictures or upload files all day long of all the things that they have been working on, and the parent can see what they've been doing, and you as the teacher can see what they've been doing as well. Okay. So also in portfolios, you as the teacher can create an assignment for the students to complete. Now, Class Dojo is not a full learning management system, so creating an assignment or an activity in here is not going to be anywhere near as detailed as Schoology or Canvas or something like that. But this can be really great, especially for those younger students. If you create activity, you can give it a title, you can give students some instructions, you can even record yourself giving the instructions. You can decide if that assignment is going to be assigned to the whole class or just some of the students. And then you can decide what type of response you want from the students. If you want them to type text or record a video or upload a photo or a drawing or a worksheet, which is new, you can upload a PDF or something, and the kids can draw on it and then turn it into their portfolio. Again, when they turn in this assignment, you'll be able to see it, so will the parent. All right, so the next tab over when you have Class Dojo open is Class Story. Class Story is kind of like, it's like a social media feed. It's almost like Facebook or Twitter for Class Dojo. And you can post in here what's happening in your classroom. You can type something, you can add photo or video, a file, you can record yourself leaving a message, or you can add a calendar event. And all of the parents connected to your classroom, also the students, are going to be able to see what you post in here. So, really great way to post flyers about things that are going on in your school, um, to post happenings from your classroom, or anything exciting going on. If you want to keep parents updated about an upcoming field trip, excuse me, this is a really great way to keep parents updated. Keep in mind, this is not super private. All parents attached to your classroom are going to see what you post in here. So you want to be careful about posting anything too personal about any certain student in this area. But on the other hand, if you go over to the next tab at the top, which is the messages tab, this is where you can be a little more private with parents. All of your parents registered to your class are going to show up over here, and you can send them private messages that only they are going to see. So this is where it becomes a really great communication tool. Um, I have found in my experience as an elementary school teacher that parents are quicker to respond to me on Class Dojo than they are through email. It's just easy. It pops up as a notification on their phone if they have it downloaded on their phone. Parents like using it. It's a really popular app, so you'll find most of your parents have already used it anyway. And I've been able to get better participation through this app than I have through email or any other communication tool. So you can message the parent, they can message you back directly. You can see the date that you sent this message, and also this little blue check mark only shows up when the parent has read the message. So it's kind of like a read receipt. You have proof that a parent saw the message that you were sending them. So overall, Class Dojo is a really great tool. I like to use it mainly for parent communication, but as you can see from this really quick demo, it has a lot of other powerful tools within it as well. So, like I said before, I'll be sending out this presentation. These computers on this slide are all links that go out to other websites. All three of these lead to the ClassDojo help sites. There's a help website for teachers, one for parents, and one for students. So when you open this presentation later and you click on those will take you out to some other helpful resources so that you can learn a little bit more about ClassDojo, because I know I went through it kind of fast. Okay. So our next tool that we're going to take a look at is Kami. And once again, this was one mentioned by our teachers last week that they use almost daily for their blended learning instruction, both in the classroom as well as their newfound digital classrooms. Kami is a Google Chrome extension that lets you and your students take PDFs and draw on them and annotate on them. And it's a really easy tool for students to understand. I know there are some really great programs out there that do let you kind of edit PDFs, but they're very difficult and they're not always student friendly. And Kami is the total opposite. It's really easy for them to use. So first of all, getting Kami, if you just, I think you can go to kamiapp.com, or if you just go and do a Google search and type in Kami, Kami, you'll find it. You can click on it and you just add to Chrome. So you do have to have the Chrome browser open. This also, for the students to be able to use it, will need to be installed on all of the student devices as well. So you might need a little bit of help from your tech team at your school if this is a tool that you plan on using. It tends to be a pretty safe one. I always allowed this to be installed on my students' computers when I was a tech specialist. So you shouldn't have an issue, but just talk to your team about that and they'll be able to help you out with this one. Okay. It is a Google login. So if you and your students have Google, it's a really, really easy login. Also, I was checking out the Kami website, and at the moment, there's a 90-day free trial for their teacher plan. I'm going to be showing you the free plan. Everything I show you tonight is free, but just know that there is a 90-day trial for their better plan if you wanted to go ahead and try that out and consider that for the future. All right. So like I mentioned, Kami lets you edit PDFs. It lets your student edit PDFs. It lets them turn in those PDFs to you after they're finished in a really, really simple manner. So this first video, it's actually a screencast that I made. So everything you see in the video, it doesn't have sound. I'm still going to be talking, but everything you see in the video is something that I recorded earlier today, just so that I don't have to jump around screens too much. And it's going to very briefly go over all of the features in Kami. So there's a dictionary feature. You can see I highlighted a word and it told me what distance means. Text to speech, you can highlight something and the computer will say it out loud. So it said cover, even though you couldn't hear it. In markup, there's a highlighter tool, which I'm going to highlight a word with right now. I highlighted what distance. There's another highlighting tool that I'm clicking on now, which is a box highlighter. So instead of highlighting a line of text, you can kind of click and drag and make a really big box area to highlight if you have a larger area of space. You can do strike through, and you can also do underline. The next feature is leaving a comment. When you click on comment, you can then click anywhere on the PDF that you want to. So there, I just clicked right there on the word road. And now you can see on the right, I'm typing, I'm not sure how to answer this question. And that comment will stay there on the side of the screen for the teacher to see. You can also leave a voice comment, a video comment, or a screen capture if you don't want to type. You can leave a text box. So if your students were answering these questions, they can type their answers like I'm going to now. The next tool is the equation tool, which lets students use those math equations and symbols like division signs and, um, you know, all multiplication symbols and other things that aren't easily accessible to young students on a typical keyboard. So there, I'm showing my work for that answer. I'm doing 6 plus 3 plus 2 equals 11. You can also use the drawing feature in Kami, and you have all sorts of colors to choose from as well. There's also a shapes tool with the basic shapes: square, circle, triangle, straight line. So this would be great for telling your students, circle all of the obtuse triangles. And of course, there's an eraser tool. So if you or your students make mistakes, you can get rid of those. You could also add media. So if you have a picture or something on your Google Drive or on your computer, you can go ahead and upload that picture or that video to this document as well. It even lets you do a Google image search right here in Kami. So your students don't even have to worry about copy and pasting. I just searched the word car, found a picture of a car, and added it to my PDF and resized it just like that. And then, of course, there's a signature tool. You can draw your own signature on here and add it to the PDF as well. So I actually find Kami is really useful for other aspects of my life too, not just for students in the classroom. And there I put my signature at the bottom of the page. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead on to the next slide. Maybe. There we go. All right, so Kami is really, really easy to use in most learning management systems. I know it integrates really well with Google Classroom, also Schoology, also Canvas, and a couple of others as well. I'm going to show you really, really quickly how to use it with Google Classroom, because I know we have a lot of teachers watching who use Google Classroom, but I do have some resources later in this presentation that show you also how to use it with Schoology and Canvas, and they're not too far off from this either. So when you're in your Google Classroom and you go to create a new assignment, if you have the Teacher Pro version of Kami, this Kami assignment option will show up. If you just have the free version, you're going to click on assignment. So that's what I'm going to do right now, is click on assignment. And it's your typical Google assignment. You give a title, instructions, and then you're going to click on the paperclip that says add, and you're going to add from Google Drive. Make sure you have the PDF that you want to assign to your students already in your Google Drive so that you can go in and easily find it. Once you've added the PDF that you had saved in your Google Drive to this assignment, make sure that you choose the option to make a copy for each student so that it does just that. It makes a copy for all of them so that they can make their own edits and then turn it back into you. All right, so now you can see up in the top corner here, we're at student view. So this is what it looks like from the student side after you have assigned this to them. They're going to go into Google Classroom. They see the assignment that you gave them. It's called Practice Worksheet, and they're going to click on View Assignment. When they click on View Assignment, it gives them this kind of preview of what the PDF looks like. When they get this preview, they're going to have to click up here on these words that say Open with Kami. That, of course, opens the PDF in Kami, and they have all of these options over here, and they can mark up this document. They can add text and drawings and whatever it is that you want them to do. When it's time for the students to turn in the assignment, when they're finished marking up this document, they're going to go up here to the top right corner to this save icon that says turn in, and then they're going to click on save now. When they're finished with that, they can close out of that PDF screen. They'll be back in their Google Classroom, and then they can click on Turn In to turn in their assignment. And it's as simple as that. You'll see all of the markings that they made on that PDF. And as promised, here are all of the resources. Here are two really great ones. This one is for teachers. The bottom one is actually a tutorial for students if you wanted to show them how to use Kami. And then we have the tutorial here for how to create Kami assignments in Schoology, also Canvas, and then just the general Kami Help Center page. Okay, moving on to Screencastify. Screencastify is a tool that lets you record what's happening on your screen. And actually, in that Kami video that you watched, that's what I used to record that. So I recorded myself going through all of those different tools in Kami. And then I quickly added that Screencastify video to my presentation so that you could see that video, and that way I wouldn't have to be jumping back and forth all night between screens. So here is how I made the Screencastify videos. Screencastify is also a Chrome extension, just like Kami was. So you're going to have to go to screencastify.com or just do a Google search for Screencastify, and you'll have to add it to Chrome. It is an extension, so when you add it to Chrome, it's going to show up in the top right corner of your Chrome screen, and it's going to look like this here in the red circle. It's this little kind of coral colored arrow with a video recorder inside of it. And that's what all of these here are. These are all extensions that you add to your Chrome browser. And it will be there no matter where you log into Chrome on any different device. If you log into a Chrome browser with this same username and password, you're going to have Screencastify anywhere. So just like Kami, if this is a tool that you want your students to use as well, which I highly recommend, you will have to talk to your tech department about getting Screencastify installed on your students' devices as well. And it's pretty easy, and there shouldn't be an issue doing that either. I had my students use it quite a bit so that they could explain their work that they were doing digitally on their device, and then they would just send me the link to their Screencastify video. So instead of having to walk around to every single student and ask them, how did you solve that math problem? I would say, hey, make a Screencastify of how you solved that math problem, and then just email it to me or send it to me in Schoology. So really great tool for you and your students as well, which you'll see as we go through this. So once you have added Screencastify to your Chrome browser, it's very easy to use. You move your cursor up to the corner, you click on the little arrow, and when you do, this little box pops up right on your screen. You can choose to record just the browser tab that you're currently on, or you can choose to record the entire desktop anywhere that you go on your computer screen, or you can choose to make a webcam recording, and that, of course, would just be a video of yourself from your webcam talking to your students. Usually I'm recording just my browser tab or maybe the whole desktop, depending on what I'm trying to show students on the computer. You can turn on your microphone or you can leave it off if you don't need to do any talking in the video. And if you choose webcam down here, it will also include a small webcam version of your face in the bottom right corner. So you'll still be recording what's happening on your screen, and then there will just be a little image of yourself in the corner so that the students can still see you as well. Once you have chosen all of the settings that you would like for your recording, then you just go ahead and click on the record button. All right, so I actually have another little Screencastify here that I made earlier today, so I can show you some of the annotation tools that are available to you while you're recording. When you click record, you get this little countdown. It says 3, 2, 1, and then there's a little ding so you know your screen is recording. There are not a lot of tools, but there are a couple of really useful small tools that show up in the bottom left corner of your screen. So that's what this video is actually going to walk us through. All right. So there's a focus mouse tool, which kind of gives you this like spotlight feature if you're trying to get your students to look at one part of the screen specifically. This tool hides your cursor when it stops moving so that it can get out of the way. And the third one highlights your click. So you can see that red circle showing up everywhere I click if you want to exaggerate where you're clicking for your students. You also have this drawing tool that has a lot of different colors as well. So if there's something that you want to underline or circle to get your point across, you can do that. And then of course, there's an eraser tool as well. When you are finished with your screencast recording and you're ready to stop recording your screen and end the video, oops, there we go. All you need to do is go right back up to the top right corner of your screen, click on your little coral colored arrow again, and then go ahead and click on the big red stop button to stop your recording. And it will let you know how long your recording was as well. And then of course, there's a few other options here. You can pause your recording, you can restart it, or you can throw it in the trash if you just don't want it at all. Usually I just click stop because my recording is over. When you click stop, a new tab will open in your Chrome browser, and it will look like this. It's going to show you the screen recording that you just recorded, and it shows you how long it is. You have some editing options here. You can trim parts of the video out if you made a mess up or if you forgot to stop the recording at a certain time. There are some really simple edit tools here. You can mute that recording if you don't want any sound in there. And then you have a couple of sharing options as well. And I love how easy Screencastify makes sharing these videos. So first, let me tell you, any Screencastify video that you record, as soon as you hit stop, it automatically saves to your Google Drive, the one that you're logged in with. And that is awesome. So when you go to your Google Drive, you'll notice you have a brand new folder called Screencastify. And when you open that folder, every Screencastify that you've ever made is going to automatically save in there. So you will have those always in the future unless you delete them from there, which is absolutely wonderful. Some quicker sharing options, though, are you can publish to YouTube directly from this site. You can get the embed code if you're trying to embed this recording on your website or somewhere else, or maybe your learning management system. You can send this video in an email. You can download it, or you can just copy the link right here and go ahead and paste it wherever you need to. How I got these into my Google Slides for tonight is, let me get back in here, sorry. All right, sorry about that. So what I did was when I was making my Google Slides, I went to the top where the options are and I clicked on insert video, and one of the insert video options is insert from Google Drive. So I found that Screencastify folder and I just plopped these videos right into my slides so that you could see them tonight. Really, really useful tool. I know a lot of us right now who are teaching digitally are trying to train our students on how to use these different digital tools. And I think Screencastify is the best way to train your students on these tools. You can, make a Screencastify video showing your students how they use Kami or any other tool, and then you can send that tutorial video to your students. So now they can see the screen, what it should look like. They can hear your voice, they can see your face in the bottom corner. And it's just like you're teaching them how to use these tools in real time in the classroom. And here are some additional resources for Screencastify. The first computer links out to the resources on their own website for help and support. And then I found this really great YouTube tutorial on how to use Screencastify as well. All right. Moving on to another tool. This is actually not one that was mentioned by our teachers last week, but this is one that I'm throwing in that I would like to share with you. This is eMedia VA, and this is actually managed right out of WHRO. Um, at the end of this eMedia section, I'm going to give you the contact information for Lindsay Horner. She's the eMedia VA manager, and she is an expert. She runs this site, and she can answer any of your questions. She can come to your school and provide training. So I'm going to give you her name and her email at the end of this. If you are part of one of our owner school divisions, which if you're in this webinar right now, you probably are, then you most likely already have login information for eMedia VA. And of course, up here in the top right corner is where you log in. I'm not going to go into that too deeply because it's kind of different for every school, depending on, if you have Clever or ClassLink or none of those. So if you're not sure how to log into eMedia VA, you can go ahead and contact Lindsay about this afterwards. I will say you do not have to log in to use eMedia VA, but logging in does give you a couple more options. So in a nutshell, eMedia VA is a content library with, as you can see, over 163,000 learning objects. There are videos, there are interactives, there are PDFs, lessons, playlists, all sorts of really great things. And I'm going to show you around a couple of those. So here's where our content is coming from in emediava.org. And as you can see, we've got really, really great content providers. Everything is made by these companies, and we purchase them and make sure that we are adding the absolute best content for our site, for our teachers, and for our students. Okay. So if you're looking for something particular in eMedia VA, you of course would use this great search bar at the top. If you're looking for American Revolution, you can type in American Revolution in this search bar and you can click go. But there are also some ways that you can refine your search even a little bit more. One of them is by SOLs. If you click on SOL, you can choose from all of the SOLs that are available. And if you choose one, then only resources that have that SOL are going to show up for you. So that's one way to weed through them. Another way to filter those search results is by type. So if you know you're looking for just videos for your students, you could click on videos, and now only videos are going to show up when you search for American Revolution. Or you can do two of them at a time. You could look for interactives and images. You can click on however many of these you would like to. You can also filter by grade level. So for this one, I set the low grade at 3rd and I set the high grade at 6th, but it goes all the way from pre-K to post-secondary learning. So you can set the grade levels of the types of resources that you're looking for. And then of course, we also have this other section as well. If you're looking for, something with captions or something that has supplementals, or a certain vendor that you're looking for resources from, you can view those as well. So here I actually did type in American Revolution. I chose my grade levels from 3rd through 6th grade and I clicked on go, and you can see 557 results came up just for American Revolution in upper elementary school. So there are quite literally just tons of resources in here. If you go ahead and click on one of those resources, this is what it looks like. It pops up on a new page. It gives you the video or the interactive or whatever it is right here at the top. And it gives you some information about that resource as well, so you can read about it before you view it. And it gives you some options over here on the right side for sharing with your students. You can add right to Google Classroom, or you can get the embed code, you can email it, you can download it. Some of them you can download, or you can also add to a playlist. So if you're logged in, you can create playlists. And then instead of giving your students like 7 links for different individual eMedia VA resources, you can just give your students that one link to that playlist, and then they can go through all 7 of your resources, excuse me, that you have added to that playlist. Then if you scroll down this screen a little bit, you can see even more information at the bottom. A lot of these resources also have supplemental resources that go along with that main resource. And you can click on those and it will take you to those resources as well. You can see the standards of learning, who they were tagged by. So this one happens to be by PBS Learning Media. You can see what grade levels that resource is for and what permitted use it has. I highly recommend these series in eMedia VA. We have Learn and Grow with WHRO and Continue to Know with WHRO. This year, we broadcasted actual teachers teaching live lessons on TV for students to view while they were at home. This started early in the pandemic when things first started happening and teachers weren't entirely prepared. We just wanted to give students as many school resources as they could, especially if they didn't have internet access. These, of course, are free to students who have access to our WHRO station. So all of the videos that were broadcasted on TV are all listed in emediava.org. They're wonderful, wonderful resources because they're taught by actual teachers. So definitely go ahead and take a look at those when you get time. Myself and Lindsay have created a lot of playlists for teachers as well. We're, trying to help out teachers and give them some ready-made resources that they can give to their students and not have to put too much work into. So if you go to emediava.org/distance learning, you can see a very, very long list of elementary and secondary playlists that past teachers have put together for current teachers. And you can share these resources with your students. I believe all of the resources that we added to these playlists do not require students to be logged in. So if that's a concern, no worries. Students can still view these resources, even if they don't have a login or know how to log into emediava.org. It's as simple as just clicking on the link and going to the website and seeing what we have to offer. And I clicked on the link. And here's that information for Lindsay Horner. She's wonderful. I highly recommend reaching out to her if you want to learn more about eMedia VA. Her email is lindsay.horner@whro.org, and she'll be more than willing to answer any of your questions or to do a professional development session for your staff. And this computer leads to whro.org/webinars, where this webinar will be posted as well as last week's. But also there are webinars that Lindsay and her crew have done that show you more in depth how to use eMedia VA. It's a wonderful, wonderful resource. All right. Moving on to Pear Deck. This is the last one that we're going to go into a lot of detail with. Pear Deck is an add-on for Google Slides, and I will show you what that means. Pear Deck can be used with any Google slide that you make or that you have already made in the past, and it makes your slides a little bit more interactive for your students. So you can take those slides and you can ask your students questions and you can get responses from your students back. So it's not just throwing a Google slide at them and having them read it and not sure if your message really got through to your students. It's interactive, so you can really see what your students gained from your slides that you gave them. And I always compare Pear Deck to Nearpod, which is another really popular interactive tool. I've done webinars on Nearpod in the past, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard of that as well. So if you've ever heard of that, Pear Deck is very similar to Nearpod. It has a free version, which is the one that we're going to look at tonight. So while I was taking a look at Pear Deck, I noticed that, excuse me, just like Kami, Pear Deck is also giving you 30 days of unlimited access right now to their premium features. So I'm only going to be showing you the free features tonight, but if you think they're as great as I think they are, and you would like to look more into this, I would recommend getting this add-on so that you can have 30 days of their unlimited access, because they have some really cool paid features as well that you'll get for free for a whole month. So here's how you get Pear Deck. You open a Google slide. It can be a brand new blank Google slide, or it can be one that you have created in the past. In this case, on my screen, I opened a simple machine slide that I have used in the past. And it's not even one that I made, it's one that I got off of another really great third grade teacher that they let me borrow. And I kind of went in and changed some things and made it my own. Uh-oh. Okay, so when you have the Google slide open and you look up at the top, you'll see add-ons. If you click on add-ons, you'll want to go ahead and click on Get Add-ons. When you click on Get Add-ons, this page will pop up on top of your Google slide. Pear Deck is usually somewhere at the top because it's very popular, but if it's not there, you can type Pear Deck into the search bar and that'll come up quickly for you. And then you can click on it, and it's a very, very fast install right here. It takes literally seconds to install. All right. So once you have Pear Deck installed, when you click on add-ons, now you'll see Pear Deck show up here every time you're logged into Google Slides. All right. So when you open up Pear Deck on your Google slide, here's what it looks like. The whole screen pretty much stays the same. You're still going to see all of your Google slide options that you always see there. But on the right side, you're going to see this new toolbar. And you can add questions to your existing slides. So you can add a text question where students have to type something. You can add a multiple choice question, a question where they have to answer in a number, or you can add a website that you want them to look at. Draw and Draggable are premium features, so I'm not really going to go over them tonight, but if you sign up and you get those 30 days, you'll be able to use those for a month, and they're really cool features as well. So if you were to click on ABC Text, your slide is suddenly going to have this little pear guide down in the bottom corner. It will say students, write your response, and you'll see Pear Deck interactive slide. That's how you know it's a slide that has Pear Deck question attached to it. And it can be any slide. I just created a slide that said, describe one simple machine you have used today. And then I clicked on ABC Text and I was done. That was it. I also made another one that was multiple choice, a number, and a website one. So we're going to go ahead and see what those look like from the student side in a moment. But after you're finished with your slides and you've added all the different types of questions you would like to add, you just go up here to the top and you click Start Lesson. Just like Nearpod, it's going to ask if you want it to be student-paced or instructor-paced, and it explains what those are. Student-paced just means the students get to go through the slide at their own pace. Instructor-paced means that you're guiding the students through the slides one by one in a synchronous lesson. So once you start that lesson, here's what the students do to join your lesson. So as you can see, student view, students are either going to go to the Pear Deck app or they're going to go on their device to peardeck.com/join. And then they enter a code, and the code was given to you back on your teacher screen. It's always a 6-digit code that they'll enter. And then Pear Deck is going to ask them how they're feeling today. It does this every time, which is kind of cool. It's a nice little way to check in on your students' social and emotional well-being for the day. Usually they click on the smiley face, but if you see one of your students clicked on the frown face, you can always go ask them, what's going on in their day. All right, and once again, I have a little screencast here on what it's going to look like from the student's perspective. So here's the slide where they have to answer with a text. They click in the text box and then they type their answer. And my question, as you can see, is describe one simple machine you've used today. I used a lever today. They go to the next slide. This is a multiple choice. They click on their answer and they go to the next slide. Here they have to enter a number. It's not going to let them enter text, only a number. And here is where they view a website. I just copy and pasted the website I wanted them to view, and it pops up right there next to their slide. And you can see the student scrolling through that simple machine website that I wanted them to check out. So that's what it looks from the student side. And then after the students have completed all of those questions and responded to all of your Pear Deck prompts you put in there, you can go ahead in as the teacher and check out what that looks like. So here's what that looks like from the teacher view. You click on these three little lines, then you click on review session. You'll see the student. You click on this little symbol in the middle, and you can see all the answers that the students gave you. It took a second to load here. My computer was having a slow moment. So here I can see the student, Janie Everett, said, I used a lever today. I can like it or comment on it. I can see what she chose for the multiple choice. I can see what number she entered for the number question. And I can see that she viewed the website that I wanted her to view. One more thing about Pear Deck is that it also offers a template library. Not really going to go into those right now for time's sake, but I highly recommend going in and checking out their template library. There are a lot of different Google Slide templates, a whole lot of social emotional ones, asking students how they're feeling, if they feel safe, how they're doing with their schoolwork. There's some digital citizenship ones, all sorts of really cool things in there for students to use. It's a really great feature. And then of course, because that was very quick, I have some resources here from the Pear Deck site that show you how to use Pear Deck a little bit more. And they even have some really great training classes as well that you can take a look at if you're more interested in Pear Deck. And then, like I said at the very beginning, I'm really not going to go into this one, but I did feel like it deserved honorable mention. And both of our teachers last week mentioned it. GoGuardian is a really wonderful website, program, extension. I used it in the past at my school. I had every single student in my school on GoGuardian. And basically, it's a program that allows you to see your student's screen from your teacher's screen. So this view is from the teacher point of view. Here's all of your students, their name shows up, an actual image of their screen, their current computer screen shows up for you. Down here shows you what website they're currently on. It shows you all of the tabs that they have open. You can open these up, take a better look at what they're looking at on their screen. You can type them messages. You can lock their screen if they're doing something they're not supposed to be doing. You can take screenshots. So if you need to message a parent later saying, hey, your student was somewhere they weren't supposed to be, you can do that. And there are also a lot of reports available to you as well. So even if you weren't watching the students in live time, you can go back in the reports and see what websites they were on, at what times, and for how long, and all that sort of good stuff. So GoGuardian is not free, which is why I don't want to spend too much time on it, although highly recommended. So maybe check it out and ask your tech crew about GoGuardian. And those were all of the tech tools for tonight. I'm going to go ahead and leave this screen up with my contact information. You'll be hearing from me soon with a certificate and a survey link. I see it's 8 o'clock right now. So if you've got to get going, go ahead and feel free to go. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and stick around for another couple of minutes. And I'm going to try to answer any questions that I see in the Q&A right now. So if you're heading out, have a great night. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the Q&A.
And Janie, there's one question in the chat as well.
Okay, perfect. Let me pull these up. Okay. Let's see. Okay, do you know if Kami works on more than just PDFs? I believe Kami only works on PDFs. However, I've really only ever used the free version of Kami, so I can't say 100% if it works on, like JPEGs or anything like that, but in the free version I'm using, it is only PDFs. In Screencastify, if you select webcam, does it record what you share on your screen as well? Or is it always just on you? Okay, so in Screencastify, it can get a little bit confusing because there are, let me go ahead and share my screen again, actually. There are two different spots in Screencastify that say webcam. So let me show you the difference between the two of them. When you click on the Screencastify arrow, it's going to make me sign in quick. Okay. Okay. Well, that's having a moment. So let me just scroll back up to the Screencastify slide. Okay. So when you click on the Screencastify arrow and this little box pops up, there are kind of two different spots that say webcam. If you click this one at the top that says webcam only, that one is going to record just your face. It's just going to be webcam. It's going to be you on the camera, your face, your voice. If you select browser tab or desktop, and then you choose this one towards the bottom that says embed webcam, you're going to be recording what's on your screen, but your tiny little face is going to show up down in the bottom corner at the same time as the recording of your screen. I hope that made sense. I know that's always a little bit confusing for teachers that they have two different webcam options, but the first one is just webcam. The second one is your tiny little webcam face down in the bottom corner. Hopefully that made sense. Okay, and you said there was one in the chat. Let me get on over there. Great program. Okay, I think it's the one about Kami. So someone said that they used Kami and it's a great tool, but a student was sending mean messages to another student. Can you help me learn how to turn off the chat? That's actually something I'm not familiar with, but let's see, that was Karen. So I'm going to write down your name, Karen, and I'm going to go ahead and look into that feature. I feel like, just with my past experiences with tech tools in general, I feel like there would probably be a way to turn that chat off, but I'm not 100%. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look into it. And when I figure something out one way or the other, I'll go ahead and shoot you an email, Karen, and let you know what I find because I'm not positive. Okay. So at the moment, those are all the questions I see. I think I answered everything from the chat, and I think I answered everything from Q&A as well. So that being said, thank you all for attending. You'll see an email from me soon. We'd appreciate if you fill out our survey when it comes, and have a fantastic night. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions you might have. Good night, everyone.